Welcome to episode 8. I'm your host, Tony Suriano, and in today's episode, I interview a man who escaped to America to become a full-time filmmaker.
This podcast will talk you through the ups and downs in the entertainment industry.
Each and every one of you has a talent, but it's a tough business. People gonna tell you, get a real job.
By introducing you to sustainable, moldable methods in a crazy, cutthroat world.
Let us harness our willpower and take real action.
Don't let it get you down.
Join me, brothers and sisters, on a journey through trials and tribulations.
Unfake it till you make it.
Before we get to the interview, I wanted to let everyone listening know where the podcast is heading. I'm happy to say, and I'm excited to share, that this podcast is taking its shape, and all my frustrating efforts are starting to make sense. Literally, I just recorded that last line maybe 8 or 9 times. I kept messing it up, and that's called persistence, folks. I have many interviews lined up, and each episode, each guest, I'm learning so much about process. I'm learning about everyone's process with self-doubt, struggles, and fears. And I love that because it can be applied to all areas of our lives, and we can make our own process even better than what it is. Sometimes it's still a process, but sometimes it's terrible how we frame things, how we do our things. So it's something to think about. And I've been lining up guests, which is a process of its own that I'm just becoming familiar with. So there's process in everything. I love process. I don't like processed foods, and I don't recommend them. So stay away from those if you care about your body and your mind. Also, perhaps 2, definitely 1 executive producer from Martin Scorsese's The Irishman will be on this podcast in the near future. And if this sounds good to you, please subscribe so you don't miss out. Share the show to people you think will enjoy it. And now, my guest today, he is a director and producer who operates his fabulous film studio in Burbank, California, called JFA Studio. We talk about how he made his first feature film as a refugee from Iran with other refugees. We also discuss his multiple award-winning documentary, A Cry from Iran, how he struggled from editing into small shared rooms to finally a huge film studio of his very own. We also touch on some of his sleeping tips. Listen, learn, and get inspired as I did with Mr. Joseph Hovsepian. Anything out of the ordinary happen recently, whether it's professional or personally?
I wouldn't say out of ordinary, but I think just the amount of work that the incoming work and the number of clients finding us, that's been just something interesting because I haven't done anything different in the past few months, but I see different results.
So you were telling me before you're having a little bit of an overload, which is a good thing for the business.
Yeah, we have more production requests, stage rental requests, and multicam shoot requests. So it's just like people finding us in a way that we've never gone after them. So that's, I think, in a way, it's considered a miracle maybe in a world where like California people, they have to work so hard to find a client and continue working with them.
It's definitely got to be the word of mouth, because obviously if you provide good services in the beginning, people remember not only, oh, they had a great studio, but we like Joseph or whatever, this and that. I mean,
I would say so, yeah. And hopefully this doesn't sound too prideful of me, but in general, I think a common statement that every rental or client leaves this place with is, you guys are amazing, this place is exactly what we needed, there is something special about this place. And a lot of times I would ask, what is the special thing? And they just say it's just the presence. And that's, I think it's very interesting. And I'm sure it's a combination of several things together. But I think the feeling that they normally are left with is that I don't look at them just as a green dollar bill and just a source of income or profit for me. So there's been a lot of times that we have gone out of our way to help a production that I could have simply not even say anything or not cared, but I went the extra mile. And I think sometimes these little gestures makes a huge difference at the outcome.
Yeah, I agree. Any recent film projects? I mean, I know you're busy, but anything in the mix?
I'm working on a short film script, and again, a lot of times my work starts backwards. So I look at what capabilities I have, how much budget I can put together, how many people, cast, crew I can find, what specific specialties I have that it's an advantage and maybe other people don't have. And then based on those things, a project or an idea is born in my mind. This may not necessarily be very creative or professional way of approaching a project, but I don't know. But for me, it works. And one of those elements also is actually what is my own capabilities and understanding of life and first-hand experiences, and what is that I care for. Basically, what is the concept and idea that it can keep me awake at night, or in this case at midnight. It's the only time available that I can work on the script, that I can complete this journey that is probably going to be 9 months to 12 months to finish it. So it's a short film. It's an interesting idea. Not too many actors in it, but I think the concept and idea is very interesting.
Wow. Are you going to push to shoot it this year, or is there
I am hoping late this year, because I have to shoot it in kind of a cold weather and cold locations. Okay. So it's the kind of I don't know if I want to tell the story.
It's up to you.
It's kind of the story of a girl wanting to commit suicide on a bridge, and this is the story is happening in a European country. And then another character is a man that is, for his life, escaping the country of Iran. And in the border line of the country, as he's escaping the forest, he comes across this girl on the bridge. And it's New Year, a couple of minutes before, it's 11 p.m. On December 31st. So then, of course, this man, leaving his family behind, trying to now find a new hope, now has come across someone that has already lost the hope and is at the very last stage of his life. The girl's father is an officer patrol and is after the man, actually, with his dogs in the forest. So very much a lot of interesting dialogues going on, but to not make it just boring as well, that's where I added the New Year event there, so we can have some fireworks between the dialogues. There's gonna be like this explosives and sounds that all of these can add some surprising elements.
That sounds really great. Let me know if I can help you out anyway. Okay. I'd love to be a part of that. I can see it. It's very cool.
It's probably a 15 minutes short film.
I love that. It's always good to have something brewing, and I want to see how that progresses.
Thank you.
Let's talk about how you started, how this studio started, or your previous one, or did it start out of your house? Like, how did that?
It's a very interesting story, and in a way maybe a little long, but I'll try to compress it into an MP3 version from the 24-bit wave. So basically, I, as you can probably tell from my accent, I am an immigrant in this country. I came to United States in year 2000. English is my third language. I speak Farsi and Armenian and English. So when I just came to this country, of course, financially, it was a major struggle. So I lived with my family, and we started doing some editing work for local Persian or Armenian TV stations and all that. And I was working from my mom's apartment. It was a very small place. I was doing video editing. My brother was doing composing on keyboard, and it was very hard because he was very annoying with his music sound and
While
all
you're
the
working.
keyboard. Yeah, so no headphone could block his sound, but I always remember my mom would say it wouldn't stay this way. So we tried to, of course, be patient. And I remember I was trying my best to escape meeting with clients in that apartment because I felt it's not a professional office. So I would try to meet with them at Starbucks or elsewhere. But I would say within that 3-4 years working from apartment, a lot of jobs started to come in. And again, I think the key in success in that part was honesty in the work that I did, and as well as trying to do my best. I can't say I was a professional editor necessarily, but I would put my everything into every single project that we had, regardless of what it was. So I started producing a lot of commercials for our Armenian channel. I produced about 80 of them by the year 2007. So then I started working at a Christian nonprofit organization doing directing and editing for them, but still was working from apartment. Mm-hmm. Then we bought a house. Then we had 2 rooms dedicated to editing. I remodeled. I don't know if you were there.
I think
maybe
I
you came
it,
once there. Yeah. So that kind of gave me a little bit more confidence. By then, we had built some more clients and working with more organizations, and I think we had more sample footages or projects to show to people what we have achieved. And then in 2009, I rented the first warehouse, which again, I remember you came to that place.
That's where
that was in a kind of scary alley, maybe drive. It wasn't necessarily the best location, and I knew it. But what I say always is that you have to squeeze everything out of what you have. At that time, I had a 600 square feet space, which was very small, but I produced, I think, some music videos that to this day people think that I shot it at a 4 times bigger space, just because I think at times limitations give birth to discovery, to creativity. And in that sense, I think that's where you would a lot of times see people like from India, from Middle East countries, that they have some limitations for whatever reason, financial, political, economy, or anything. Their mind works in a more maybe creative way. They try to fix things and to get things done at a cheaper cost, but still gaining good results. And so I think that was the case with mine. Like for example, I didn't have enough depth of field, but I invested on good glass. So a lot of videos that I would shoot, I would have like prime lenses, fast lenses, and the distance between the subject, the talent, and the wall at times was like really 3 to 4 feet.
So really tight conditions, but
Exactly.
you made up for it with a very specialty glass.
Exactly, and I think that, or at times you're using specific wide lenses, how you put something in the foreground and all that. I created the space that it looks bigger, and I think just that challenge by itself was a step for me to now grow again. And I had that space for about 4 years. And then, of course, after that came this studio. It was an amazing opportunity to purchase this place. The original owners were going bankrupt because they said the business is not going well here. They had added a lot of features to this studio, but even though they were working with Fox and CNN for their live shots and interviews and all that, but they said it's not still paying the bills, and they said the location is not working for them. So there I came and purchased the place. I had a lot of actually fear, and I want to give some credit to my wife, because I was going from a place that the rent was $600 a month to a place that the payment was $4,200 a month, and now add electrical and other expenses, you're looking at $6,000 to $7,000 a month just to run the place, forget the staff, operation, and other expenses. So my wife says, if it doesn't work, you will sell it within a year. And so I want to say maybe it's a combination of logic plus taking risk. And I think it's just like fuel and air in a carburetor, that you have to find the balance for the combustion to work in cylinder. Now I'm going to mechanical.
I love that. That's a great analogy.
Hopefully it will make sense to our listeners. So for all those elements to come together, you need to have balance of risk-taking. You can't be too conservative, has to be 100% safe. But at the same time, I think I had enough backbone and support to know that, okay, I will last 6 to 12 months at least, and we'll see how the rest goes. But as soon as I came here, thank God we had some new visitors that just came, rented the place or rented our service. I put a sign out there. And I think this place, in a way, gave us a sense of identity and confidence. And this is it's very interesting. I was the same person that worked in the apartment, and now I was in a kind of maybe impressive studio facility. But it's interesting that people's, unfortunately, reaction or people's impression of you and what they think of you changes based on some of those.
Joseph has this big studio, man. He's the stuff.
Exactly. And that takes me to the point that I see now why some people in industry, although it still sometimes bothers me, but some people think too big of themselves, much bigger than they are. Like just yesterday we had some group here that they were kind of laughing at our lights, and the guy was saying, "Oh, I had to bring my truck." I said, "Why?" He said, "I had Kinos." He gave some of these names, and I said, "Okay, yeah, but we have about 40 lights around here that we've done hundreds of hours of talk shows here. You can't tell me you can't use this lighting." So it's just, I think beyond certain level it may become a little like snobby, and you're thinking who you are and all that.
You get so into the industry or your camera lighting, and you do know it well, that you think that's the only best way.
Exactly. But I think that the bottom line is that it's important what image we leave behind. Today, not necessarily everybody has the chance of owning a facility like this. And by the way, a facility like this has its major headaches like this. I'm sure you sleep much better at night than I do. And we'll talk about that hopefully later. But I think at the same time, there are certain areas that we can work for our image to look nice, to be organized, authentic, to represent us nicely. Like I just visited the website. I want to hire them for a job. I absolutely love the website. Even it has parts for scheduling a telephone conversation with them, schedule something, payments and all that. I see, okay, this person has thought through all the stages of it, and it's so pleasant experience for me. So I think the same style goes for my mentality from the moment the person enters. Actually, they first are impacted with a nice sign. I spent a couple of $1,000 on that sign. Many people say,
nice.
"Oh, don't do it. It's just keep
that's
it
your
quiet."
front door.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And then you come in. We have a monitor. A lot of times for the shows, we put their name. Because now, they love for their production the display is just $200, but now you put their name on it.
I love
and
that
says,
idea.
Like, welcome to JFA Studio. Today's production, Twitch TV, or something. I see a lot of them come and take a selfie, and then they post the selfie, and that automatically now again promotes me.
So good. And it's an experience for them.
Exactly.
They like it.
And they're
It makes them
happy,
feel better.
and all that. So I think it becomes a custom-made, as if you're making something unique for them, custom fit for them, whether it's clothes, car, engine, production, whatever it is. So I think with that in mind, it's very important that I think with each client we use a little bit of psychology to know what their need is, what their standards are, and how and what is the best way that I can connect with this person. As I said, I'm an Iranian or Armenian. Necessarily, I cannot maybe connect to a white American in every single level. I may not even understand some of their jokes or history and all that as much as I love to, of course, learn more about this country. I've been here for about 18 years. But of course, there is a little bit of a cultural gap. Having said that, I think there can be a frequency that I can adjust myself, that I say, okay, I connect with this person and I deliver what I promise. And I think what I promise, if it's very honest, if it's close to what I deliver, then that person would say, okay, this person is straightforward, honest, and this is his price, so he's not going to have any hidden fees and all that. And normally that's why we ended up with some great feedback on our Yelp as well. It's been about 4 years now that I'm over 4 years that I'm at this facility. Thank God, the clientele has grown. I'm still able to afford the payments. And we have some, of course, ups and downs, but we have a staff of about 6 full-time people that are involved in different aspects of production. And I'm happy. I think I don't know if this is... I think this is in a way more than even I thought I would reach at this point in my life. But it's a good feeling, I think, when you look at it that way.
That's beautiful. I see it, and I definitely vicariously lived through you of that transition, and I'm happy for you. Can we go a little bit back to the beginnings again? When you started out editing from your apartment, and let's say some of it was word of mouth and you're getting clients, it's not a bunch of money, but it's going. When you found your place in yourself in the position where you really need to get 3 or 4 more clients or 2 really higher paying clients just so you could really feel less stress, what strategies did you use? Do you remember how you attacked that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I am not a very good salesperson, and I know that about myself. And I think the first step is that each of us know our strengths and weaknesses. But I know I'm probably maybe much better when I have something to show rather than something just to talk about. And so I think in my case, very soon I built a nice website in the very early stages, and I started adding the stuff that I have done to that website. And then I contacted a couple of organizations and TV stations, whether going and visiting with them or just sending an email that, hey, this is the website and I'm willing to do this. And I even started with I can do the first one for free so you can see how things go. And I think that probably was maybe one of the first steps that it worked. But then at the same time, I started working part-time in Orange County as an editor. Okay, so that's, I think, maybe a stage in my life that I really worked hard. I mean, I still work hard and I don't get enough sleep, unfortunately. But just like a space shuttle that first launch, we are using, by the way, a lot of technical stuff today.
I was just at SpaceX the other day.
You did?
Yeah,
Okay.
I visited. It was amazing.
I watch a lot of those videos. A lot. Like at nights, actually, I go to bed by watching Space Shuttle live.
Really?
Yeah. Nice.
Does that put you to sleep? Does that help your sleep?
Yes, because it gives me, it calms me. It gives me a peace that I'm this small person, small dot in this big earth, and it makes my maybe problems looking much smaller, and it's overall very peaceful in my opinion. Yeah,
I love that. I've not heard that technique yet. I've had problems sleeping, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. I used to be like 3 hours a week. You know,
I see the earth orbiting slowly. So that it's
where do you watch that? Like
on YouTube. There's a channel. It's called Space Shuttle Live.
Space Shuttle Live.
Yeah,
I will try that.
They have a few different angles that it's just 24/7. So then you can see, okay, now that's your country.
How do you go to sleep at night? I put on rocket ships launching.
I know, my wife says it's very weird.
But that's
cool. It's boring. But anyway, again, that works for me. If she has to fall asleep watching, I don't know, Housewives or whatever wives or
you know what I've been
House of Cards and all Grey's Anatomy and all that. For me, this is what it works. I watch a lot of documentaries, Hitler and all that. But going back to I think, early days, what I want to say is that, I didn't get enough sleep because I worked very hard. Like part-time, going to Orange County every day, three days a week, driving almost 2 hours because of traffic. So,
how'd you get that job? Did you apply hundreds of places just to get an extra stream of income, or you knew someone?
No, someone recommended the job to me, and I went there, and they accepted me. Yeah, so I think in that sense, maybe I come from a Christian background where my dad was a pastor in Iran and he was brutally killed in Iran, and that plays a very big role in my life and a lot of decisions that I make, and a lot of my surrounding. There are people that I know we have paid some big sacrifices in the country of Iran, and they of course also try to be supportive and help us. And it was through one of those friends that they said they need an editor in Orange County and go and see if, in fact, I had shot a movie in Austria as a refugee. I was there for 7 months. I shot a movie on a Super 16mm film. I spent about 20 grand on the Kodak film. And so I went to the Kodak film over there. I said, I'm a student, and if you can give me some film. They gave me at discounted prices, or they gave me some of their expired stocks, which unfortunately a few of them gave us some issues when exposing. But in general, what I want to say is that you have to work hard, and even at that stage, as a refugee in the strange country that they really humiliate the refugees there, and it's just so hard. I didn't have even a cell phone or even transportation, but in that kind of scenario, I seized the moment. Again, that's maybe the seizing or squeezing everything
seizing
out.
And squeezing.
Yeah. So I was in a situation, I myself was in a refugee camp. I was a refugee. I was surrounded with refugees, and I could feel this nostalgic feeling. So I said, okay, all of this is a great ingredients to tell a story. to tell a story of a refugee. So I came up with a script. I wrote the script. I got all the other refugees, my friends, to act in the film. They weren't actors, but
hey, that's what you had.
Yeah, they were in that stage, and I don't think they did anything less than a professional actor. And so we got some cameras and film stock, and I asked my uncle. He lent some money to me. Later in America, I paid him back. But so I came to the US with rolls of 16mm film. But then I didn't have money to edit those films. So 3 years took me to edit the film, because where I was working, they allowed me to use their computers and all that. And so I had to transfer the film again here, spend another $20,000, and that itself is a long story. But finally, that film in 2004 went to select theaters, called The Tune of Nostalgia.
Wow.
So I came to this country with 16mm films. Within a few years, my movie was in theaters.
Amazing. That's so cool. I'm going to check that out. Wow. I love that story. While we're in that area, can you mention how it was growing up in Iran? And actually, by the way, do I pronounce it Iran?
That's correct.
I mean, some people say
both is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was the
Iran.
Iran to the store, but Iran's the country.
I think Iran is better. It's more correct.
Can we talk about your first experience with cameras and storytelling in Iran? And how that grew inside you?
Yes. Let's see. I think when I was 13 or 14, we had a Hi8 camcorder. My dad had purchased it for the church. I think someone from Europe gave it to him so that they can use it at church. And again, I seized the moment, an opportunity, and started taking that camera and just filming things. I asked my brothers to come up with some acting, and I just filmed them and with some ideas and all that. And then soon I think my dad realized that I'm very much into camera operating and all that. Then he said, would you mind filming this conference? We have this speaker coming, and just do some shots of this and this. And then the church was involved in humanitarian efforts a lot. At the time, there were some Kurdish refugees that came to the north of Iran, and the church for 3 months were feeding them. So then my dad said, do you want to come and just produce a report that what we are doing here, so that we can also kind of show that we are trying to help these people as well and tell the story. So I went with him to the north of Iran. I was there for a couple of weeks. I filmed refugees and all that. So I think throughout that just journey, the more I worked with camera, the more I felt I am in love with it. And to this day, if you ask me what is the best part of the production that excites you, it's not script writing, it's not the studio management, it's not even producing, it's cinematography. It's where that angle is pointed, why we see what we see, and why is it light or dark, and why the movement is like that, and all that. So I think very soon a lot of people discovered that in me. And I think it just started that way. And then, of course, he bought a non-linear mixer, linear mixer actually. At the time, we didn't have non-linear. So I started mixing videos, syncing the VHS. By then, we had the VHS decks. So I would record multicam. Now I started bringing in my brother and my other friends as camera B and C operators. Then we would get all the VHS tapes, try to sync it with hand, and then press the pause button together.
and this was in like the 80s, right?
Yes, this is in late 80s.
But late 80s in Iran, which I'm guessing, but is that really older equipment that you could get your hands on compared to American?
I would say probably 10 years behind.
Okay, so you were really in it. Yeah. Wow, have to use that talent.
So I think all of that, yes, now gives me some sort of interesting feeling, or it's a chemistry that I know that, okay, I have had that journey. In a way, I feel proud that maybe today's young generation, you show them a high 8 tape, they wouldn't know if it's even videotape. They may think it's audio cassette tape or something. But in a way, I'm happy that I continued. I know some people, because of maybe their age, at some point they were not able to switch over, or they still don't feel comfortable to work with non-linear stuff, and they still try to just do it the old way. But I think it just helped me to grow and appreciate what we have today, which in a way is much, much easier. Well, one thing, Tony, I would add, since we are still talking about the days in Iran, I think great events in our lives, whether good or bad, they are the starting point of something within us, a concept, an idea. They initiate something within us, and it's so important to be sensitive to that. And I think every artist has that. If you're a painter, if you have lost someone, you would start looking at even painting differently. The shadows, they all now become this tool, become this language that now you express your feelings. So in year 1994, my dad left the house and he never came back. Later we realized that he was unfortunately stabbed to death, and it was a very hard stage of my life, because I never thought that he deserved to be killed, because he was a very good servant of God, and I'm sure there were many worse people than him that deserved to die. But well, that was, I guess, in God's plan for him to go. But that left a very deep, I would say, it curved deep pain in my heart, and very, very long-lasting experience. And I think at the same time it was the starting point of a story, a starting point of it exposed something now, as if you start to see things differently, and you start to feel what it's like when your loved one dies suddenly and you will never see him, at least in this world. So all of those were first time feeling for me. So and at the same time I had traveled with my dad a lot of footages from him. So within a few years from that incident, I knew that I have to tell his story and I have to make a documentary about him. So that concept stayed with me. Constantly I thought of the documentary, how it will start, how it will end, what is the message in the film, and how I can again squeeze everything out of what I have already, because I have all these great footages. Now I have this unique story and I have this unique experience that maybe 1 out of 1,000,000 person would have it. So all of that came together in 2007,
and that's
into a documentary, A Cry from Iran. It won 12 awards in different film festivals, and to this day 16,000 DVDs have sold. Some channels have shown it on TV.
Mm-hmm. I watched that with my father. I think I told you. We were both just blown away. So, amazing.
And again, I think this is what I want to especially encourage our listeners. Today, maybe a listener from, I don't know, East Coast of America or another part of the world doesn't even connect with my story, and it's too far from where he is in life as far as belief, geographical place, and everything else, family and all that. But I think that doesn't matter. What matters is that where we are in life, we can tell that story. What we have, we can put it at best use. Today, I may not be the best filmmaker for an American story, but I know I could be a very good filmmaker, and I can touch some very unique topics when it comes to human rights. You know, because I've experienced it. I've lost someone that you talk about human rights, every cell within my body starts to now move faster, come to life. So that's something I think is very, very important, that not to necessarily follow what Hollywood follows or what looks or sounds cool. Just I gave you the example of this guy laughing at our lighting here. But hey, I don't care if some of the lights are Chinese. Let it be. But if it works okay and many people haven't recognized the difference and I can't afford bigger lights right now, that's the reality, and I'll put all I have in the best use.
Wow. Can you walk us through some of the process for creating that documentary? Like you kind of mentioned how you conceived it, but once you really started, how did that look like, and what were the challenges?
Yeah, I think a very interesting challenge, which may not even come to the listener's mind. It starts from within me, and that is, what do I want to gain with this documentary? Now, do I want to use it as a revenge? And a documentary is a documentary. It has to be documented, has to be unbiased. Now, I am the son of a murdered person. Am I the best person to tell this story in an unbiased way, or would I automatically shift to a direction to take my dad's side and just go against everybody else that killed him? So I think that was the challenge, and that's why I had to wait a little longer, because I want to overcome my own feelings and as a filmmaker tell the story, not as the son of that murdered person. So but that was the very first challenge, and I felt that finally I came to that point 10 years after his martyrdom, that I could in an unbiased way tell both sides of the stories, and not everybody in Iran were killers or bad people. So I had to approach it very carefully and sensitively. But then, of course, comes other challenges, that I wanted to tell the story in a nice way. I didn't want to make something cheap, so I knew it's a one-time chance. So I knew I needed a little bigger budget. I knew I have to interview so many people. I want to do some reenactments and all that. So I needed kind of a five-figure budget at least, and or four-figure, somewhere between 4 and 5. And what happened is that I contacted a couple of organizations that I knew they knew my dad, and they cared about him. And again, that was my world. So I started with them. Few of them, they said they can't do anything, but one of them being an organization called Open Doors International, that they are also very involved in human rights and supporting minority religious groups. They said, okay, this sounds interesting, and let's do it.
How did you pitch them the project?
I, again, very organized. I already created a website. I created a 3-minute documentary based on the clips that I had. And then, even though my English at the time wasn't that good, my writing, but I got some help from my cousin, put together a nice proposal, nice packet that it shows what the documentary will achieve and all the details and even a budget breakdown. And I think with that one shot you have, you let the recipient of that proposal know that you have thought it through. You know what you're doing. And it's not just showing or pretending that you know, or convincing or forcing that you know what you're doing, but in reality, no, you know what you're doing because you're caring about it and you've spent time to plan for it. So I think that's probably one common pattern that you would see in every stage of my life and maybe every success point of going the ladder up, even one step at a time. But that quality is evident, I think, in a lot of my work and relationships and pitching ideas. So then, of course, after they approved the budget, the fun part began because we lined up filming in 3 countries, filming in UK, filming in Turkey. I did a lot of guerrilla filming in Turkey. I didn't have permission.
Questions about, can you talk about the dangers and how you kept going, even though you've been, I think you told me you were jailed, you were hit, you were all this crazy stuff.
Yeah. We filmed in Turkey because I couldn't go back to Iran.
Because?
Exactly.
Wait, why? Please tell.
Well, in Iran, of course, I was also under some persecution after my dad was killed. And so now I had a family and I was working on this film, and I was also involved with some other Christian programs. And the Iranian government, few times, even while I was in America, they sent some messages through a friend of mine that please ask Joseph to come back and we'll be very hospitable to him. So I knew that there is still...
It's like a mafia hit right there.
There is still some sensitivity, or my name actually is still there, unfortunately, as much as I would want to go back. But the reality was I had to, of course, be thinking of all aspects, especially when I had a family with 2 boys. It wasn't all about just what I like, but what is the right thing. So we decided to shoot in Turkey, which is very close to parts of Turkey. It looks like Iran. So we shot on the streets of Turkey, the parts that people are with scarf and hijab and all that. And then we shot in UK. Then we also went to a number of states in America, several different states, filmed some people like Dr. Ravi Zacharias. And some of these people, we had to schedule them 6 months ahead of time for a 45-minute interview only.
Wow.
But then, we had 200 hours of archive footages as well from Iran that I had filmed with the Hi8 camera. So we edited them on Avid Media Composer with my brother, and within a year, we had a documentary.
Wonderful. That's amazing. So what was it like going in a country? I think you mentioned you had, we don't have GoPros then. You have this big camera that you have like in your jacket. You told me something like that. Yeah. What happened?
Yeah, we would like travel on a motorcycle, and I would hide the camera under my jacket and just try to carefully, without looking in the viewfinder, but try to just film it. And it was exciting. I mean, even now at times I love to do stuff like that, but maybe too late.
And then another little incident. Didn't they lock you up for a couple of days or something because of that?
That was when I was in Iran. Yeah, once I was arrested and I was put in jail for a few days. Actually, that has happened a few times. But that's a different story.
Wow, that's amazing and crazy. During all that, what were some of the biggest mistakes you made that you learned from about doing a documentary or a film, just in general?
Mistakes. I think it was perfect.
Hey, that is great. I love that.
To be honest, I think I had
Passion.
spent so much time on preparation that I don't think we had any major mistakes. I think one of the mistakes I had, not necessarily on that documentary, but on the project before that, on the Tune of Nostalgia, is that I was afraid of people's criticism. And I released the film without asking anyone for their opinion.
Whoa.
So because I was somehow shy and afraid of someone sitting next to me and look in my face and say, hey, I think this was an awful movie, or this part really didn't work and I think you have to shorten it, or you have to take this out and all that. And I think I was so attached to the project at the early stages of my work that I wanted to use every shot that I had filmed because it was precious to me.
You took that time, and
Exactly,
it's your heart.
Exactly. Whereas then I realized that it's not about me. It's about the end results. And once I think I kind of start to know that, then even working from an apartment didn't bother me that much, or from this the dangerous place, little alley studio that didn't look that classy or good, because I said at the end of the day is the outcome that matters. At the end of the day, people have to know Joseph Hovsepian based on his production and what they see on the screen, not because of where he works from. And I think it unfortunately goes against everything that the entertainment world today teaches us, and probably maybe the one thing that I would want to emphasize in this podcast, that for us not to just follow what other people try to sell us. You have DSLR, GH3, okay, now GH4 is out, GH5 is now 5S. I have to have the latest.
Yeah.
Mac, we have to have the latest Mac. I mean, a lot of people, and I have great examples for some of these funny examples. People come in, I show them a footage, they look at it, they say, oh, this must be 8K, you shot it on red, right? At first I say, yeah, we shot this. After a couple of minutes, when they already think that it's on red, I said, to be honest, it was on DSLR.
I love that.
Like $1,500.
That's so good.
DSLR.
Oh, that's so good.
At that moment, I realized that, okay, so people, it's not about what you use, but how you use it. And I encourage especially the people that are at the starting stage, not to feel humiliated. Many people, out of ego, or just because they have spent thousands of dollars on a red camera or this light and all that, or even big studio and all this, to justify it for themselves, they might try to put you down. Just like the guy that had that grip truck and tried to kind of put me down just because I didn't have that many lights that he liked.
Yeah.
But who cares? At the end of the day, if I've been able to produce hundreds of hours and the client looks at it and says, wow, this is amazing quality, then to be honest, having a lighting truck or not, it doesn't matter actually. You may actually be a loser if you have the truck and it doesn't bring profit for you. You may actually have to start with the Chinese light. And
getting too fancy could have a lot of more problems. And
so I would say don't fall in the trap of the names and the brands and all that. If you want to fall in a trap that challenges you, fall in the trap of what you can put on the screen that becomes impressive with what you have. And very soon you will see that you don't have to promote yourself too much. People will come to you. You will be like a magnet. I told you I'm not a very good salesperson, and maybe some listeners would find this podcast more boring than other podcasts. I don't know.
Hope
Maybe
not.
you had some other sales on the show. But I hope that some of the listeners look at my work and say, okay, wow, this guy actually does amazing stuff, maybe more amazing than the other ones that talked more impressive and used much bigger, impressive words and all that. So what I want to say is that let's try to impress people on screen. not with brand names, not with what you have spent on or how you look like. Yeah, and yes, of course, it's great if you can, of course, start grow in the brands as well, in equipment and all that, but that comes at the later stages.
Wow. I know we're getting close to time, so maybe I can just get a couple quick questions. Okay, 3 things that you must have in a studio besides the standard like lights and a camera, cameras. Any special things you've realized over the years? Oh my God, I'm so glad I got this. I added this.
Beside light and tripod.
Yeah, some kind of any special thing or 1 or 2 things. Like for me on a film set, I bring a ladder, like a nice tall ladder, and that saved me so many times, if anything comes to mind.
Interesting. That's a question never has been asked.
Oh, well, how about any special tool or unique item that other people should have on them when they're doing jobs?
I would say this from my experience, like just cables, extra cables, all kinds of connection adapters. It's happened to me and to others, and because at times you bring a truck full of equipment, thousands of dollars, but then you're missing that 50-cent RCA to quarter-inch adapter cable.
Yeah.
So I have a drawer here filled with all the adapters together, may cost less than $20-$30, but it saves life. Curtains normally is very good because at time we just need to cover something, or it's like a backdrop or something that it just fills that empty spot. And I don't know, I think that's pretty
those
much
two
about
sound,
it.
that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
And for our studio, we have some just props, but it's handy little things.
Yeah.
At times I go to Michael's and just see this vase or painting or something. It may be very low cost, but suddenly one little prop can change the whole look of your set.
Wonderful. Any favorite resources you go to learn about new gear or learn about something new in the industry, like a website or a store that you want to mention?
B&H Photo, everybody already know, of course. I use Pinterest a lot for is that Pinterest? We have
P-I-N-E?
The app that has the design stuff.
I'm not aware.
You don't know? Okay,
sometimes I'm under a rock.
Okay, I'll tell you the exact right name because I just... okay. Pinterest.
Oh, okay, yeah, Pinterest.
Pinterest, yeah.
Wow, that's a good avenue, huh?
Yeah, because there I search like stage design, set design, and I see what other people have done, and a lot of times it's very low cost stuff. A lot of garage sales I can find very
cool props.
Cheap, low price stuff, and it works great. At times Craigslist also.
Craigslist. Hey, that's how I met you. Exactly. You were trying to buy a lens off me.
Yeah. The lens didn't work. I don't think I bought it,
no.
But the result was much, much better.
Yes.
Long-lasting relationship.
Definitely. Okay, in one word, what are you continuing to work on that benefits you and also people around you?
As far as idea or...
Any word that comes to mind, maybe that that you for the rest of your life maybe you'll be working at. Mine is definitely patience. That's one of mine.
Redemption.
Interesting.
Redemption, because I think all of us have areas that are challenging and we have to be released from.
Wonderful. Any powerful Iranian proverbs or some kind of saying you have for us today? Could be anything of any kind of insight.
خیلی چاکریم. That's a little bit of a slang language, okay. But it means we are really so much in love and respect of you. It's a very poetic and it just expresses love in a very unique way.
I love that. Okay, where can people out there find your work, find the studio and Facebook or whatever?
I talked so much about being organized and having organized contact information. So it is at jfastudio.com. That website is mainly geared for the rentals. Then we have jfaproductions.com. That one is for the production services that we offer.
All right. And what about if people want to reach out to you? Is there a Facebook thing maybe? Or
if they search Joseph Hovsepian, they can find me. I have, I think, about 8,000 friends on Facebook and Instagram.
I'll put that on the show
I'm
notes.
not that much active on social media, unfortunately. But
so if they want to reach you through the website, that's a better way. Would you say?
Website, on Instagram, sometimes I put some drone shots or behind the scenes of what we do here. So
great. And my last question, what would you like to leave people thinking about? And is there one step people can make now that want to create a valuable film studio or just a service of their own in the entertainment industry?
This may be repeating some of the things that I shared, but it's not one thing. It may be a couple of things, if that's okay. Don't be ahead of yourself. Don't go ahead of the time. Don't go too far ahead of yourself, and take your steps based on where you are at. Maybe one step ahead of it, not too many. Otherwise, you will fall too fast. I had a friend 15 years ago asked me to partner on opening a studio, and I didn't have the financial backing, clientele, and any of that. And he was just too excited, and he opened it. Within two years, he filed bankruptcy, and now he works at a gas station. A guy with a master's in film studies. So the timing wasn't right, and I knew that. No matter what, you have to go through some stages. You can't jump from 1 to 10. And I think my advice is that against everything that the entertainment people kind of tease you or tickle you to see you at that high level, just try to be the best at whatever level you are, and you will see that very soon you will climb the levels one by one. Studio, at time you may have to start from your garage, just as I had, and I still have that room at my mom's place. I had put this track lighting there, and I did green screen, and it worked. It didn't look too impressive, but it worked, and I did many commercials there. So I would say start from something, and I am sure no matter where you are in life, you have something. And thank God in this day and age, it's not hard to have a camera that films with a decent quality, or buy a $30 curtain green screen that
Joanne's fabric. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and that was some very interesting stuff.
Thank you, and everyone else that patiently listened to us this far.
Okay. Yes. All right. Well, I'll let you get going.
All right. Thank you.
And that concludes this episode. I hope you enjoyed Joseph's stories and gave some thought about what you do have and how to make it work best for you. If you enjoyed this episode, you're going to love the next. But really, if you did like this episode, if you could take a few moments to rate and review the show, I would really appreciate it. It would inspire me to continue the show and make it even better. If you are an Apple user, all you have to do is have the iTunes app and enter the name of the show on Fake It Till You Make It. Then you can see album art, click on it, and then there's a review tab, and you can do it there. If you're an Android user, all you have to do is download the Stitcher app and click where it says reviews, click the write a review button, and write a sentence or two about what you enjoyed, your favorite episode, or what you may tell a friend that was considering to take a listen. This would be a big help because Apple and Stitcher will see more people are interested in the show, and then they'll make it more available to passerbyers. And then hopefully they'll like some reviews, they'll give it a listen, tune in, and perhaps they'll get inspired, they'll join the community, and they'll drive their passions home. Thank you, everybody, in advance, and I wish you a wonderful morning, afternoon, and night.
Thank you for listening to the Unfake It Till You Make It podcast. For detailed sources and show notes for this episode, visit www.unfakeittillyoumakeit.com. Until next time, get up, get going, and get creative.